Hi guys, welcome to Robin Hood Diaries today. As usual, I hope you're well. Relative concept, right? Well, I'm well. As previewed tonight, it was a little bit like the production assistant sort of doing like scammy things to department stores. Okay, it's a lot more interesting than that, guys, as usual. So I'm going to try to break it down as fast as I can. Okay, so there are several or a few different kinds of way of approaching wardrobe, both in movies and commercial television. The larger studios have access to huge departments for wardrobe. Universal, when I did For Keeps, Colleen Atwood was the costume designer. She did my fittings. Other, oh God, Paramount, or no, Warner Brothers, anyway, whatever. So there's that, studio. Then there's kind of, let's just say ragtag movie, video, whatever, where you just kind of bring your clothes and it's low budget everything. That's, no. But then there's professional. I mean, I'm talking Procter and Gamble, like, ad agency people and it breathing down your neck, right? So everything has to be crisp and perfect. That was my mother's specialty. She was, like I've said, she's, was like, the top commercial stylist at the time. My mom did like Marilyn Monroe's personal fittings for her summer wardrobe once. So here she is, right? But I'm also working in production. So I'm a PA, legitimate PA on commercials. That's, running around doing anything that the AD tells you to do and paying the Teamsters and, all kinds of fun stuff. But then there was this hybrid where I was like, I was like assistant stylist, meaning my mother's indentured servant for some cash. And then there was basically grunt work. So whenever I worked as a production assistant connected to wardrobe, it was either PA on payroll. Like I wouldn't even think about anything if it wasn't 75 to 100 a day, because it was a very good PA and that was the going rate then. But with my mother, again. So there was this PA money work, whatever, that was kind of shifted into being, this aspiring indentured servant of wardrobe. So it's because of people like me that department stores now have studio departments. They didn't used to. When I started schlepping for my mom as her assistant in commercial television, again, this is not necessarily, certainly mainstream television, episodic television, that's again studio departments. But this big time videos, big time commercials, all of these big time things my mom did, mostly mainstream commercials, involves getting tons of wardrobe. Okay, so because the director wants like a million things and then he wants one thing. And he never really knows, she never really knows what they want. So you have to be prepared in spades with everything they could possibly want. So it's kind of not like my mom's fault or those folks like her, kind of really, because of the pressure they were under. But then again, you got my mom. So she basically busted open the poor department stores into having to have two studio departments, which was ironic because half of them, she knew the women from 700 years ago that had to now run these little studio departments. Here's why. So what I used to have to do before these studio departments that developed because of what I was doing in this capacity as a production assistant was my mother, or the stylist, my mother, would go and she had credit cards to everything, everything, Broadway, Bullock's, everything. Maid Company. So what the deal was, what would I say, stingy or swindling, was that she would purchase all of the the commercial wardrobe for the talent, for the lead actress, for the couple, whatever, on her, I have to keep calling them charge plates, on her charge plates, which were credit cards for each department store. You didn't use, Visa for everything. You had to have like a Sears credit card, which is the hardest credit card to get, can you imagine? Okay, so I would have to, during this period of history, be given all of this tons of wardrobe that my mother would hoard to please the director, to get exactly what he wanted, because she knew what she was doing. And she would go with her charge plates and go to like every department store in town, like, because my mom would walk in the store, and it's exactly what they wanted. It's just the way her brain worked. So, but then you're left with all these fucking clothes, like 6 tons of clothes. So to go back, that she put on her charge plate to buy the clothes for the job. Now, mind you, she's getting paid for this job. So I'm not saying that there was like skimming or anything, but the idea of going and having to buy 2 tons of clothes from, let's say, Bullock's, and because every single department store in town knew me, and I'll tell you why. And then suddenly you have to return 2 tons of clothes back to them because the director only wanted 3. Whose job was that? Me. As soon as I could drive, from the garage, sit like 2 racks of clothes to be going back to the department stores. So I'm literally cutting to the chase. I end up walking through the Beverly Center and places like that, Century City, with all these department stores. And I would have to go in and convince them in this weird, vague way that I need to return all of these things on this lady's charge plate, my mother's charge plate, whatever. So each time it was like this weird, awkward, strange ordeal because sales clerks were not used to this kind of thing. They didn't know what was going on. And then I go to the next one. I would walk into Beverly Center with 6 garment bags, but they were from different department stores. So what am I doing going into the main company with Nordstrom, Broadway, in my arms? So then it's like quadruply weird. So this goes on, and I'm like, Mom, as this starts to unravel, and she just keeps saying, just bat your eyelashes and smile. Just bat your eyelashes and smile. And she, it's like, lady, I only have so many eyelashes to bat. And the smile wears off when you're carrying 6 garment bags from 3 different department stores to try and shove it back on your credit card. So, but this is the way it was done, at least by Liz. And she was extremely, well known as a stylist, except I had to go every day and a half, man, with 16 garment bags full of stuff that the director didn't want, and bat those eyelashes and smile at these clerks that had no idea why I was returning 6 tons of clothes on someone else's credit card, right? So this happens more and more, and then, like I said, it's like a frog in a pot. It was because of people like me that they had to develop these studio departments so that the people couldn't do this shit. So then they come the studio departments. Now, they're much more streamlined and whatever now, but when they first started, you'd think that they opened a hair salon. So the one at Neiman Marcus was, like George Hamilton guy in a suit, with they took over dressing rooms and turned it into some office. And he was a piece of work to deal with. Oh my God, that tan. And so I'm now having to kind of translate this, shoving all this crap on these sales clerks to now dealing with George Hamilton and with the same scenario of 6 tons of clothes, except now you have to do it differently. I couldn't walk in with 15 garment bags. I had to bring it specially in and cut those fucking eyelashes again and smile and deal with a new set of people. So then, but these studio departments started really ragtag. They all weren't starting with George Hamilton guy. And then they had like a lady here in charge of call her over or go over here. And I was still sliding it, you know, like, yeah, you know, the credit card's on my own, but you're getting the clothes back, it's washing out on the card, everybody gets money. Oh my God, I'm so tired of this. So then everybody has studio departments. All this, they can't help it. I mean, they're losing money. They're selling and they're taking back, and there's labor and taxes and everything involved. So then Saks Fifth Avenue, which was my mom's kingdom, and these other department stores, then, you know, especially Saks, then all the old ladies that they pushed into the studio department. It's because it's a desk job with a rack in the corner. And then of course, there are women that used to work with my mother 1,000 million times, and every time I go now, I'm not dealing with, here, take these 16 garment bags. I have to deal with, oh my God, I knew you when you were a little baby in your mommy's tummy. Over and over, every time I went to Saks Fifth Avenue, oh my God, it was like, Saks. So I just fell more and more into production work. You know, I was a good PA, a really good PA, and for legitimate, like, assisting production, not like, you know, like Metropolis for my mother. And that was kind of it. I continued to do styling, helping her style, learning how to be a wardrobe stylist, landing a few commercial jobs, and I don't know, all, take your pick of what hell broke loose. My marriage, my lovers, my whatever. But anyway, that was in and around, like, as soon as I could get my driver's license, my mom started foaming at the mouth, pissing down the side of her leg, like, oh my God, he can use my station wagon. Okay, I'm sure I'm over, but thanks again for sharing. Sorry for my enthusiasm last night. I was really cranked on that subject, and maybe today's a little more mellow. So without a doubt, I'll see you guys virtually tomorrow, and in my previews and in my teasers and all that. And I miss you when you're not around, but you're around every day, so screw it. Okay, not screw you, screw, I don't know, screw, what is it? Just it. Okay.